one hand, but raising several hands up. That's good, Obasi. That's good. Okay, so moving on. You remember basically. What's the update on that? I've got some update on the planned subsidy removal. Here's this from our bulletin earlier today. The National Economic Council has asked the federal government to put the June deadline for petroleum subsidy removal on hold, pending the review of existing plans to provide palliatives for Nigerians. The council said the federal government will broaden consultations with state government and other key stakeholders such as labor unions, petroleum marketers, Ministry of Finance, Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, and representatives of the incoming administration. It said the expanded committee will decide if the removal can be done by June as planned. The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, disclosed this to State House correspondent shortly after the valedictory NEC meeting presided over by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo at the council chambers of the presidential villa. Let's take a listen to what Madam Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, had to say on this development.
What I said is that it is not going to be removed now, which means it will not be removed before the transition is completed. That's what it means. But then we have two laws that have inadvertently made the provision that we should exit by June. So if the committee's work, which will include the representatives of the incoming administration, determine that the removal can be done by June, then the work plan will be designed to exit as at June.
Yeah, the minister also spoke on the implications of the decision.
But if the determination is that the period needs to be extended, it will mean that we will have, as a country, will have to revisit the Appropriation Act, for example, because the 2023 budget only made provision up to June. So if we're extending beyond June, it means we have to revisit the Appropriation Act and do a supplementary or amend the bill and also the PIA. We that are here now are going to do the work with the representatives of the incoming administration, and we will exit and leave them to continue with the implementation of the plan.
Oh, she also explained why there has to be an expanded committee.
There will be an expanded committee so that it is not just a few people's thoughts that will guide the process, that there is sufficient consultation, taking inputs from key stakeholders into the measures that need to be taken.
Okay, we'll look at this in the 4 o'clock hour. Now, I'll be asking you, amongst other questions, when will subsidy finally be removed in Nigeria? Or, to rephrase that, when will petrol subsidy finally be removed in Nigeria? Do you have any idea? Any idea, anyone? Well, I'll get your thoughts, in the 4 o'clock hour after the business news. I'll take us to 5. The news update comes up 5 o'clock. Let's see what's up for the 5 o'clock hour. We've got, after that, let's see. Oh, yeah, here's the one. Another story from Premium Times. 2023 polls. Why opposition lost? That's according to the president, Buhari himself. He's got a theory as to why his party, the APC, won the presidential election. And the others, most notably the PDP, Labour Party, and maybe NNPP, lost. President Muhammadu Buhari Thursday asserted that while the APC was working hard to retain power in the recent elections, the combined opposition was a victim of overconfidence, the main reason he believed they lost. Speaking at his residence in State House, where he received the Progressive Governors Forum led by its chairman, Governor Atiku Gudu of Kebbi State, President said, quote, "They were already telling their foreign backers that they will defeat the APC. Our party blended confidence with caution. We worked hard and won." Now, their overconfidence is creating more problems for the opposition than anyone else. They are finding it hard to convince those who supported them from the outside why they are unable to beat us. A combination of overconfidence, complacency, and bad tactical moves made them lose, plain and clear. This has created more problems in their camp. Why did they fail to remove us? So that's the president's theory on why the APC won the election and the others lost out. Do you agree with him? Why did the other parties lose out? Why did the ruling APC win in the election? I'd like to get your theory. The president has expressed his theory and what that happened. I'd like to get your theory as well in the 5 o'clock after the update. Headlines at 5:30. The major news comes up about the hour. At 6 o'clock, a review of all the matters discussed on the show comes up afterwards in today's side comments, including your thoughts on my side comments, that is. During today's open season segment, I meant to say, pardon me, during the open season segment, after the major news at 6 till about 7 o'clock, the show wraps up by then. The sports can go in by 7 o'clock for extra time. Oh, someone else here says, my hand is up. I remember very well that they will be removing subsidy by June 2023 as in Prince Umar. Okay, that's indeed. Friday's edition of Hard Facts, that is favourite. That's me, Manuel. Absolutely spot on as well. So, let's see. There it is, a preview of today's show. Let's move on right now with today's side comments. Random stories caught my attention earlier today as I checked out the news, and I've got some random thoughts on them as well. Just be reminded, please, they're not to be discussed now. Okay, not sure I have enough time to get that going now because I've got a commercial break coming up in a very short while. So I think I might just go for that break now. I'll return afterwards with the side comments and today's rounds coming up right after that. Deeply stay tuned. Hard Facts continues in a bit. It is Hard Facts in Nigeria. Info and Hearing Port Harcourt. I'm Dial. 20 minutes going past 3 p.m. Discussions are right now, and you're welcome to join in. But not for now. Don't join in immediately. You can join in by simply listening and watching on our social media pages. We're not discussing these matters for now. However, Police in River State say efforts are ongoing to take a newborn baby that was found in a waste bin in front of Mouthley Park in Port Harcourt early this morning to an orphanage home. Spokesperson of the command in a statement said investigation is ongoing. Coordinator of Center for Basic Rights Protection and Accountability Campaign, Prince Wiro, has advised pregnant teenage girls to seek support from relevant agencies and government rather than throw away the baby. Wiro said this in an interview with our correspondent while speaking on the rescue of a newborn baby that was dumped inside a waste bin at a Mouthley Park in Port Harcourt last night. Let's take a listen to what, or some of what Prince Wiro had to say on this.
The action of the unknown mother who dumped the baby is wicked, inhuman, and barbaric. I want to use this medium to advise young ladies that took in and are not able to take care of the child after giving birth, not to throw away the child, not to kill the child. They can seek help by approaching relevant government agencies that can take the child from them for proper care.
Okay, all right. That's good advice. That's good advice. Now, maybe I need to be. I'm certain I very likely need to be educated on this. Which relevant government agencies in Nigeria or in River State is collecting babies from teenage girls who cannot manage that responsibility? I don't know. Maybe they exist. Maybe they exist. Maybe there is a program in place of sorts. But I don't know. And like I said, maybe I do need some education, some enlightenment on that. And if I do need some education, we have system in place that ensures that can happen. But merely from exposure to what happens in other countries, I do know for a fact that in some other countries of the world, you have existing systems, existing programs, where even when a woman or a teenager or a girl or lady gets pregnant, right from pregnancy, the adoption program, right from pregnancy, the adoption process is on. I mean, even before delivery, she could even be in her first trimester, and the adoption procedure has commenced. They have a register. Of parents or persons or individuals who are looking to adopt a child, and they are on a waiting line, and their profile is there, information about them is there, and the expectant mother can go over the list or go over the register and determine for herself, choose for herself which couple, which individual she feels she's most comfortable with adopting her unborn child. And even before she has that child, she delivers the child, she can have a meeting with prospective parents. She could be asked to select 2 or 3, whatever it is, and she can have a face-to-face with them. And whichever of them she's comfortable with, or whichever individual she's comfortable with, she can say, okay, you know what, I want this person, or I want this person to be the parent or the parents of my unborn child. And then some kind of a relationship commences. They have interactions every now and then. The would-be parents can find out from her what's going on, how are you doing, are you sticking to your medical advice, are you taking your meds, if any, are you going to the hospital as you need to for prenatal. They can have a conversation. They can meet even intermittently every now and then. And then even at the point of delivery, they can be there if both parties come to that arrangement or that agreement. They can be there at delivery, and from there on, final paperwork is finalized and the baby is handed over to them. Now, these things happen quite seamlessly, really, and everybody knows that it exists. Nobody there needs the NOA or their version of the NOA to tell them that this is going on. Everybody knows it's going on. So, we need to put such systems, governments in Nigeria need to put such systems and programs in place. And if we have that, it's going to be unlikely. We're going to have less scenarios of baby factories. because those young ladies, and then the process is commenced. They don't need to go to a baby factory to go sell their baby. Well, let's see. What else caught my attention as I checked out the news today? Was there anything else in particular? I'm not sure there was very much that did strike me earlier on today. Oh, River State Police Command says the police and local vigilante intercepted a notorious kidnapper and armed robber, Woody and his group, who engaged them in a gun battle in Elibrada community, MOR local government area yesterday. Command spokesperson Grace Iringa-Koko said during the gun battle, 2 members of Woody's group, Junior Onukube, also known as Pai Pai and Progress, were killed, and 2 locally made double-barrel guns. Pardon me. Alright, okay, yeah, so here we are. 2 locally made double-barrel guns, 5 live rounds of ammunition, coveralls, and a Toyota Camry car were recovered from the armed robbers. Oh, this is good. This is excellent. This is the kind of stuff we want to hear from the River State Police Command, how they're tracking down criminals and they're apprehending criminals and vandals and making River State inhabitable for them, making River State not a pleasure park. Yeah, well, no pun intended. Making River State not a pleasure park for criminal elements, and with the same zeal that that we've taken to deal with this fellow. And I hope that the fellow himself is apprehended eventually. Let's go after those so-called cultists, criminals, common criminals. At the where's that part again? Well, basically anywhere. There are several flashpoints anywhere in River State where we have these criminal elements causing mayhem, unleashing terror on the people there. Let's go there and deal with them. And that place where we're said to be there's some kind of a cult clash, supremacy war going on there over illegal oil trade. And we have another place where there's a thriving illegal drug market going on as well. Let's go to these places and deal with them as well and apprehend the criminals in those places. Let's do all of that. And thumbs up to the River State Police Command once again. Now, some stakeholders and community leaders in River State have been speaking on the seeming slow response of the government to the prediction that this year's rainfall might cause severe flooding in the state. Environmental advocate B.A. Briggs is concerned that no state government in the Niger Delta... Okay, all right. No state government in the Niger Delta region made any known provisions for emergency cases in their budget for 2023 fiscal year. Okay, let's check that out as well. Let's take a listen to what the environmentalist had to say on this matter.
If you look at the budgets in the Niger Delta that have been so passed, there has never been any provision for flood victims or flooding or any mitigation plan whatsoever. Talk less about rehabilitation. The rehabilitation is the last part of the management of a flooding disaster. You prepare, you respond, and then you rehabilitate. Prevention is zero. Response will also be zero. What we saw, the floods had been almost 3 weeks on before government started attempting to respond by releasing funds in the middle of a disaster. It's not supposed to be so.
B.A. Briggs is sounding like he has been sponsored by the opposition. It's sounding like how can one person just be making so much sense like that? How? The only reason that he can make as much sense as he's making right now is because allegedly of course, he's been sponsored by Hezbollah to tarnish the image and demarcate River State and to destroy the peace that we're enjoying in River State. I mean, why would he just be making all of this sense? Why would he possibly do that? Why would he do that? Why would he do that? And by the way, is he not aware of the Choi response strategy? The strategy that the United Nations, WHO, UNICEF, World Bank, the American, Canadian, British government are all running helter-skelter, sending their envoy here to ask us how we are doing it, how that they've heard about this world-acclaimed Choi response strategy, and they want to know how we're doing it so that they can replicate it over there. Because it doesn't matter. We don't have to do anything. We don't need to do anything. B.A. Briggs. All we have to do is wait for the rains to come, flood everywhere, sack people from communities, destroy homes, destroy crops, do nothing. Sadly, unfortunately, some people might die. And then after that, we will send Honorable to go there. He will go there with reporters, a large team of reporters, cameramen, and co. And when they get there, he will start pointing in the distance, pointing at nothing. Then he will be shaking his head, fold his arms and shake his head, then say, Choi, Choi, look at our people. See, our people are suffering. See what our people are going through. Our people are going through a lot right now. And then looking into the camera, he starts smiling broadly and say, yes, but His Excellency has released funds. His Excellency has earmarked funds. You see, look at the rice that we brought and the mattresses, and we bought noodles as well. I brought it for our people. But Choi, look at our people. See what our people are going through. Oh. It's a little more complex than that, really, but it's incredible, really. It works wonders. The Choi response strategy, I'm telling you. I think I'll leave off the side comment on that note. I have to move on. I've got a rant coming up in a moment. Yes, indeed. But a few quick comments, some messages I got here now. You've forgotten that when a 10th world country, we've not provided water and power. We're talking of how adoption takes place in Europe. You're funny. That's Moses. Oh, well, Moses. Oh, well. Hard fact to Dio. What about charms? Oh, the police did not mention charms. They only mentioned locally made pump action, rounds of live ammunition. Surprisingly, no charms. Maybe these criminals don't use charms. Maybe. Just maybe. On your second side comment, you didn't list and some charms. Why? I don't just list it. The police are the ones who listed what they recovered. If they didn't list charms, it means possibly they didn't get charms this time around. Alright, so that's it for today's side comment. I'll go for a break. When I return, today's round comes up. Please stay with us.
Politics, business,
to express your take and mine all the way to 4 p.m. I'll start today's rant with a story, an incident that occurred some years ago, several years ago, as a matter of fact. Yeah, but you might remember that story. And here is the internet, they say, never forgets. And here's a story published. This one published by Premium Times in 2014, October 12, 2014 precisely. And the story goes, seized $9.3 million arms money, Nigeria's presidency defends Orisha Jaffor. Or, let's go with that one. Although his private jet was used to illegally ferry $9.3 million cash to South Africa, the president of the Christian Association of Nigeria Ayo Orisha Jaffa did no wrong, the presidency has said. Senior Special Assistant to President Goodluck Jonathan on Public Communication Doyi Okukpe said this on Sunday in Abuja while addressing journalists. Quote, Orisha Jaffa has no business in this matter. It is true that he owns the aircraft. There are over 200 private Nigerians who have jets. Apart from those who use it frequently, some give it out to get some money and defray some of the cost. If you put your jet down, you pay money and partake and parking charges every day. The presidential aide reiterated Orisha Jaffa's statement that he had given the aircraft to a private company to manage. He gave the private jet to a company to manage. The company is handling it, and these people gave out the plane that is available. What has this to do with Orisha Jaffa? Now, in case you're wondering, In case you're wondering exactly, what this was all about, basically, once again, you might remember the story, how that then Khan president, Pastor Orisha Jaffa, his private plane was, was flagged in South Africa. Set to contain about $10 million. Well, here's another version of the story. Khan President Orisha Jaffa admits ownership of cash-stacked jets seized in South Africa. A private jet seized weekend by South African authorities with a stack of $10 million in cash meant for arms purchase belongs to the head of the Nigerian Christian community. Ayo Orisha Jaffa, president of Khan, however, leased the jet to another party, a top official of the ministry said. So, the Nigerian government at that time explained that the money was for them. They wanted to buy weapons. They couldn't get money to buy weapons because the rest of the world hates Nigeria, allegedly didn't want to sell weapons to Nigeria. So they put about $10 million on a private jet, reportedly owned by Pastor Orisha Jaffa, to go to South Africa to go buy weapons or something of that nature. Now, it was a very controversial matter at that time. And some persons even said it was borderline criminal to have done that. But the federal government explained it away, and that was the last we heard of it at that time. Why am I rehashing the story? The point is, if a government wants to get something done, it will get it done. The jury is still out as to whether indeed that money was meant to procure arms or not. The jury is still out whether there were criminal tendencies with that particular incident or not. But it doesn't matter. That's not the focus of my bringing this up. The point is whether it was really to buy arms or whether it was to be stolen or whatever the reason for the Nigerian government to stash $10 million on a private jet that was flying to South Africa. Whatever the reason is, the point is the federal government of Nigeria was able to get it done. The federal government, the presidency, needed $10 million on a plane in South Africa, and it got it done. That's the point of bringing back this story. I hope you get that now. In other words, the presidency or the federal government can do almost anything it wants to do, including get $10 million on a private jet to South Africa. Now, here is why I'm bringing that up. Remember the issue of getting Nigerian students or stranded Nigerians out of Sudan and bringing them back home, and how that, yes, there's a war in Sudan, and not just Nigeria, but governments of other countries of the world are doing everything possible right now, working round the clock to evacuate their citizens from Sudan and get them back home. A lot of that has been going on. And Nigeria somehow managed to complicate a process in a way that did not need to be complicated. And the federal government the Nigerian government has explained what happened. Here's a story from Premium Times. Sudan, Nigeria clears air on buses conveying evacuees halting in the Sahara. The Nigerian government has cleared the air on the alleged halting of Nigerians being evacuated from Sudan in the Sahara due to non-payment of bus fare. A viral video came up on Twitter on Thursday evening where a lady claimed the buses conveying Nigerians to Egypt had stopped moving because the drivers said they had not been paid. In another video, a student from Sudan claimed their passport had been confiscated by the drivers until they were completely paid. Now, when Premium Times reached Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Nyema, for comment, he laughed it off and shared a message he had received from the Evacuation Coordinating Party, which did not confirm if the buses stopped or not. However, a joint memo shared on Thursday night by Foreign Ministry spokesperson Francisca Omayili for the Ministries of Foreign Affairs and Humanitarian Affairs confirmed the buses stopped, but the issues had been resolved. Quote, the initial hitches and payments have been resolved. The buses have continued towards the Egyptian border. The evacuation exercise is progressing and will continue until all stranded Nigerians are brought back home safely. Yeah. Now, on Friday morning, a message on the platform where Nigerians in Sudan received information by a certain Busari said the Nigerian embassy in Sudan received only $400,000 as advance payment for 40 buses. Embassy in Nigeria of Nigeria in Sudan wished to clarify to all Nigerian citizens in Sudan from the start of the evacuation that the embassy received $400,000 as advance for 40 buses. This made the transport company supply 13 buses, about equivalent to the advance paid, while the company is expecting the balance to be paid to supply the remaining vehicles. The federal government is making arrangements to pay the balance. Now, this is the interesting part. The federal government is making arrangements to pay the balance, but due to the inherent difficulties of getting money into Khartoum, arrangements are being made to send the money to Egypt and the company to collect it in Egypt. The embassy is appealing toward Nigerian citizens to remain calm and wait for the federal government to conclude this arrangement. Onyema had earlier mentioned that $1.2 million had already been committed into paying buses to convey Nigerians from Sudan to Egypt. Now, if we could get $400,000 to the embassy, the Nigerian government, the Nigerian states, the federal government could get $400,000 to the embassy, pay for the buses, and they got 13 buses only, instead of the 40 that were required, for which $1.2 million had been released, supposedly, or earmarked, as we like to say here. Why could we not get all of this money to them? If we could get about $10 million on a private jet and get it into South Africa, obviously breaking South Africa's laws, which is why the jet and the money was impounded by the South African authorities at that time, why can't we somehow get the money to the transport company, the money that was agreed to be paid to them? Why did we have to put our students through the traumatic, horrific experience of the transport company's bus drivers stopping their journey somewhere in the desert and saying they will not proceed until they get fully paid? But we're able to get $10 million on a private jet to South Africa, once again breaking South Africa's laws some years ago. But we're trying to evacuate our students, our citizens, who are stranded in a country where there's war, and somehow there are logistics problems all of a sudden, and we cannot get the money to them. Now, if we knew we could not get the money to them for whatever reason, by the way, and we have to get the money to Egypt and pay them from Egypt or via Egypt, why was that not made clear from inception? If the plan had been properly put in place and the transport company or their drivers knew that they were only going to get paid upon getting to Egypt, I am quite certain that this would not have happened, because they were not in Egypt yet. If they had got to Egypt and the money was not there, then they might seize passports or do whatever else it is, or hold placards and say, oh, we are saying, give us our money. But that did not happen. Somehow we managed to put the Nigerianness, to introduce the Nigerian culture into this. And the least complicated part of the whole thing, getting the buses there, bringing them back home, somehow, the Nigerian factor just reared its ugly head and messed up the entire thing. If we could get $10 million on a private jet to South Africa, breaking South Africa's laws some years ago in what we claim was a bid to buy arms, we can get $1.2 million to a transport company in good time, as agreed, to bring our students, to bring our citizens home without having them be stranded in a desert. This needed not to have happened at all. And it would be nice if for once Nigeria is known for getting things right, and not this Nigerian factor which implies that we just have a knack for consistently messing up even the simplest of things. On that note, I end my rant. Thanks for listening. Let's get you taken mind. Got a few minutes left to about the hour, but the line's open. Call 0817-923-0002 or 3 or 7. Hello, hard factor, welcome. Please go on. Hello.
Hello, Dayo. Good afternoon.
Hi, go ahead. You have a minute.
Yeah, my name is Chidori. You see, last time I was on your station there, in one of narrated my experience in Sahara Desert. I don't know if the Sahara Desert, they will not even endanger the life of our students or the citizens of this country to travel all the way from Sudan to Nigeria here. The only experience I had there was so horrible. And what will it cost Nigeria as a country to fly these students all the way from there to this country?
You are not following. You're not listening to me now. Okay, sorry, I have to end the conversation. I have a commercial break coming up shortly. But that caller has not been following the arrangement to bring them back home. I'll explain when I return. Please stay with us.
Nigeria Info.
Good afternoon, sir.
Right back.
Please.
Still taking your responses on my rant just a while ago. And just to help out that caller before I had to go for a break, there is a war in Sudan right now. It's very difficult, maybe impossible to land a plane in Sudan at the moment. Not many countries, if any at all, are evacuating their citizens using planes. That's directly from Sudan. Most countries are having to get their citizens from Sudan to a neighboring country, then they fly them out. And by the way, the buses are not bringing our students home straight from Sudan to Nigeria. No, the buses are taking them to Egypt. From Egypt, they're going to be flying Air Peace. Onyema, the owner of Air Peace, offered some of his planes at no cost at all to the Nigerian state to fly our citizens, our brothers and sisters from Egypt to Nigeria. So that's it. They're not coming by bus to Nigeria from Sudan. The buses are taking them to Egypt. From Egypt, they'll be flying to Nigeria. Right, line still open. Call 0817 923 0002, 0817 923 0003, or 0817 923 0007. Oh, I got some comments here. Good afternoon. They don't care about us anytime, any day. It has always been about them. That's Uma who sent that in. Damite goes, to known fact that internationally that if you render services to Nigerian government, you won't be paid. Therefore, before you do any service to Nigerian government, collect the money first. Maybe the drivers had gotten a hint of this. If it were to be honorables and excellencies that were stranded in Sudan, they would have been brought back without stress. But if it involves ordinary Nigerians, you will see our Nigerianness playing out, and that's for Moses. Your thoughts are welcome. Still just got just over a minute before wrapping up this segment, but keep your comments coming in if you will, and if you still have any thoughts on this, I'll take your thoughts during the open season segment after the major news at 6 p.m. I'll take a final quick call. Hello, you're welcome. Hello, you're welcome. Hello, you're welcome. You have half a minute. Go ahead. Okay, well, I guess I may have to wrap up this segment at this time then. So, it wasn't necessary. That should never have happened at all. You know, I mean, if he wanted to pay them, he could have worked out a way to pay them. You know, could have worked out a way to pay them. If we needed to get them to Egypt, the transport company should have known that. And if they, once again, if they had known that, if that was the plan originally, I don't think that stopping in the Sahara and holding the students ransom would have happened at all. Anyways, we got business news coming up top of the hour at 4 o'clock. When I return, discussions continue. And, we'll be discussing a different matter entirely. Just stay tuned. Hard Fast return shortly.